Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to episode 28 of the Monoxide Podcast. I am your host, Monoxide, or Harris, a.k.a. Monoxide, I suppose, and I'm here with my co-host, Sean.
Hey, guys. What's up? I'm Sean. You might know me as the guy with the blue Durango. And on this show, we like to take you behind the meat and kind of
Beyond the meat?
Oh, beyond the meat. It's kind of like fake Burger King meat.
That is a hot topic right now. But yeah, we like to take this show beyond the meat, get to know the people that we know. Oh, you know what? Before we even get started, I need to acknowledge that you gave up on the 1M right there. Cause
I know. I was about to say it, but I remember from last episode, you guys were like, I don't even know you have the 1M. The Durango is what I know you for.
Everybody knows him for the Durango, but he would introduce himself. I'm the guy with the 1M. And then everybody's like, wait, you got a 1M?
What?
So I just had to acknowledge that you switched back on that.
I switched sides. I'm on the Durango now.
All right, enough of you and your Durango.
Yeah, it's not about me.
It isn't about you. It's about our beautiful guest here, Derek Stinton. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I kind of met you through the car community, I think maybe a handful of years ago, a couple of years ago, but we started talking a lot more this year. You've been great for track advice and all that, but you've done a lot of things over the years. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into cars.
Yeah, so I just recently moved back to Minnesota, kind of the start of the spring here, and I just kind of hit you up. I was like, this guy knows Volkswagens, and you're living in my neighborhood. And yeah, like you said, we met at some car show or something years ago, and you know how Facebook is. You know, you kind of, at a distance, you know, you're like, oh, I know this guy, and I'd probably recognize his car, but I don't know him, whatever kind of thing. And I just kind of hit up Harris. I'm like, hey, where can I get my haircut around here? Who does vinyl wraps? Who does details?
Things.
You know, so it escalated from like, okay, well, where can I get random stuff like this? And where do you grocery shop? Where do you work out at? And then it's like, oh, okay, who details cars around here? So I hit up that guy from Lux Detailing. Hey, who does vinyl work? And I hit up that guy from the automotive restoration, whatever his deal is, automotive alterations or whatever.
Yeah, so we've had both of those guys on this podcast.
Yeah,
too.
so it's just cool to like support the community and be like, okay, I'm going to pay money to have someone do good work on my car. I might as well do someone that, you know, and help them support stuff, you know, so.
And who did you get a haircut by?
Oh, I went to some place in Eden Prairie. Gents Cuts in Eden Prairie. They better sponsor me
Can
now
we
or something.
please? Okay. I'm going to look directly at the camera for this one. If there's anybody in the car community that cuts hair, and let's be clear about this, cuts hair good.
For men, yes.
For men especially.
Or and women, whatever.
Yeah, there's actually, it actually reminds me, there is a handful of girls in the car community that I think they own their own businesses, but I think it's like way the fuck up north.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, let's chat, because we need people to cut our hair desperately.
Yes.
Whoever cut your hair today fucked you up, man. No, I'm messing with you.
No, they did good, man. No, they did good. So yeah, I mean, I just kind of came back to Minnesota, live in Jordan now, which is a little bit south of Shakopee. So it's just kind of nice to kind of network with people and just kind of tag along to Cars and Caffeine with you, you know, whatnot. And yeah, so I'm a nurse. Left the state for a while, do some travel nursing, came back, got a good job, and then just kind of been in the car community for a long time. Started with car shows and then got into racing, and that's kind of where we are now. Do a lot of autocross, road course kind of shit. Stuff. Can we cuss on this? Is that cool? Is that
yeah, how many F-bombs I just dropped 3 minutes ago?
Oh, good. But yeah, that's kind of our life, you know, just doing car stuff all the time and helping out when we can, you know.
I love how much of an enthusiast you are. Like, you'll hit me up to go cruising or whatever. It doesn't matter what car I have, whether it's the GTR, the GTI. I mean, you're just down. We had a nice cruise to Caffeine and Octane yesterday. You know, we had Joby in the SF90. Sean came out with the 1M. I had the GTR. And you had the Z06. Just a handful of us. Like, just, you know, in the local area. Let's go. Let's have some fun. So that's one of the things I could truly appreciate about you. But so you've been a big Corvette guy. Have you always been a big Corvette guy?
No. So I mean, I'm kind of sort of on my, not really my fourth Corvette because my current one I've owned twice. But I started with a C5 Z06, and then life got good, got a C6 Z06. Life got a little better, got a C7 Z06, and then I traded back for the one I have now just because I wanted something a bit more me, you know, driver oriented. And the C7 Z06 was awesome, but it was like a giant computer with 1 million horsepower, you know. And I just started leaning on all those driver aids a lot, and it just got to a point where I'm like, you know, I'm not going to get better if I'm standing on the computer, you know, and it had so much power to it that I'm just like, you know, we don't need all that, and I just wanted something a bit more raw and visceral, a little nimbler, more track-oriented, so I'm super happy to be back into this thing.
Yeah, we're huge supporters of the C6 platform. I think that's such an amazing platform for just about everything.
Yeah.
So it is such an amazing car. So it's funny to hear that you went from a C7 back to a C6, and you're like, it's probably a lot better with the less driver aids that a lot of modern cars have now that kind of get in the way.
100%.
So, and also, your C7, did it have like overheating issues, or is that something that?
So mine didn't. I bought it from the original owner out in Southern California, who just had like a blank checkbook on the build and everything. So we had a lot of like coolers and stuff, and we cut holes in the hood for vents and stuff like that, and big radiator and all that stuff. So we do a lot of what they call the standing start shootout at Proving Grounds or any of the BIR events. So instead of like a 20-minute lapping session, we kind of go out and do like 2 or 3 hero lap flyers and then kind of cool down. So like if I was out there just doing like HPDE sessions, I probably would have overheated, but mine was always pretty rock solid just because I kind of knew when to call it quits, Okay.
Because
that's kind of what the car was built for.
Yeah. Well, I remember
like that,
the C7 when it first came out. I can't remember if it was the base, like the Stingray,
it was the Z06.
or it was the Z06 that had the issues with overheating on the track from stock. But if yours was already kitted out for racing, I'm sure they probably
that helped tremendously. Like it had big old coolers for everything, trans coolers and diff coolers and big radiators, external oil coolers, and it was a manual too, so that helped. But yeah, stock ones overheat.
I think it's the older ones too that had the bigger issue. What do you remember? What years it was by chance?
Yeah, the first couple years were quote unquote bad. So in 2019 when they introduced the ZR1, then they had like upgraded radiators and stuff. You could like update the previous model years, but it was more of a kind of a fix, but not like a true fix. It helped, but it wasn't like you'd still go out and do 20-minute sessions, and I didn't pulley mine down or anything. Like it was still on stock boost, so it made the blower a little more efficient in terms of not heat soaking and whatnot. But I mean, the car still made 690 wheel torque on 40% 85, so that's just too much. I mean, the car was a bad mother effer on the streets. Like second gear to like top of fourth gear was just a riot in that car. But trying to go through an autocross course, like if I turned all the traction control and all that stuff off, I'd be sideways instantly. And I'm humble enough of a driver to be like, nope, I can't control that much torque, so I'm gonna go back to a more lighter, nimble. Like my C6Z is like 250 plus pounds lighter, just more nimble, a lot more track oriented, like with the setup. Like I unplugged all of the steering wheel position sensor that controls all of the driver aids, so it doesn't even work now. Like the first event, I was like, I'm just gonna do it, and it went good, and I've been doing it since. And like the car's been awesome, super competitive, ton of fun to drive. So super happy to be back in that chassis. It's cheaper,
We've not been strangers to saying how amazing the C6 is on this show. I mean, Chaz's C7 was incredible. It was an amazing car. But I think for like your purposes, especially like the way you've built your C6, and okay, so when you bought that car back, what's new that you've added since? Is there anything new, or is that how you bought it back?
Yeah, so speaking of Chaz, Jess, they just picked up a C6Z2, so like it's the pinnacle. Like he was talking to me about it, he's like, yeah, dude, you're gonna love this chassis, I'm telling you. So yeah, I kind of sold it like right before the COVID time hit, and it had a couple of weird like fuel system issues that I was like, you know what, I've had this car for a while, I don't really feel like dinking with it anymore. It's March, whatever. He came and picked it up like April, like before it's even spring here. So like the big old wing and all the hood vents and stuff, I basically did all of that stuff over winter. And the guy I sold it out to in Montana, he's just been hitting me up all winter, and he's like, dude, I want to buy it. And I was like, okay. So like the big wing and all that stuff, like I literally got it out, took it to like 1.5 car shows, and like got a trophy, and then he came and bought it like 2 days later. So like I never really got to enjoy it, so that's why I kind of was like, you know what, I want it back. So yeah, now when he gave it back to me, it's now got Viking triple adjustable coilovers, which are pretty rock solid. Obviously they've been working well.
What does triple adjustable mean?
So like coilovers, the beauty of those is you can have 1 million adjustments, but you got to know, because that also means there's 999 wrong adjustments, right? So triple is high speed and low speed compression and rebound, whereas like a double adjustable is just compression and rebound. Mm-hmm. So once you get to the point of knowing how the shock compresses and then rebounds when it uncompresses, once you understand how that works and what track environment or what tires or what driving style you need, then I don't know any of that. So I take it up to a guy, John Bose up in Zimmerman, and he just figures it out. I'm just like, hey man, put this in, here's a check, make it work. And it's been working so far. So yeah, he put the new triple adjustable coilovers on. We put the chassis mounted splitter on, and then we put the canyards back on the front. And then I just bought a couple sets of wheels, put newer brakes on it, different seats, aftermarket steering wheel, and did a little bit of vinyl work just to kind of make it my own. Just kind of the simple stuff, Now the car's to the point where it's just small little tweaks here and there, keep it reliable, and make little tweaks when you find out there's imperfections or ways to improve. And it's an ongoing project, but it's fun. Like, there's always something to tinker with, but I can still drive it on the streets,
Yeah, that thing's insanely loud too.
Yeah.
And it's when I was driving behind you for Caffeine and Octane, I could just smell E85 the entire time. I was like, oh, I miss the smell of corn.
Oh yeah.
You were keeping a slow pace yesterday.
I had the baby in the back of the car.
I'm not talking about you.
No, I know. I was like, this is perfect.
Slow.
I'm fine staying behind him. I got the baby in the car with me. I'm not trying to race you. I'm not trying to keep up with the Ferrari. I'm perfectly fine staying behind and smelling the corn.
Yeah, me and I remember a couple of, I think the SF90, he cut me off. He just ripped it. I'm like, all right, we're going, cool. And that car is ridiculously fast. I mean, what is it, 960 horsepower, I think it is?
I have no clue.
Something like that.
Not rich enough to even look up the specs of
Yeah,
that
right.
car.
I'm same. I don't even look at stuff I can't afford because I'll just get sad,
I love it, dude. Did you guys see the Gamera? They finally released what it's going to be?
I've seen stuff that you shared.
Yeah.
I see it, but otherwise it doesn't get recommended to me.
You want to hit that record on that? Because that stupid GoPro. I'm telling you, one of these days this podcast is going to get big enough we can get some proper cameras here.
Send us a new one.
Yeah, for real.
On GoPro.
But yeah, no, I was gonna say. So yeah, they ended up putting a V8 in there because initially I think it was supposed to be like a 4-banger or no, a 3-banger.
Oh.
A 2,000 or 1,800 horsepower 3-banger. This is the 4-seater Koenigsegg.
Yeah.
Absurd, ridiculous. I don't know. I just had, but yeah.
But then it was a $400,000 option.
Yes.
To get the 3-banger.
Something like that. I didn't go that in depth, but nonetheless, I love looking up things I'll never afford. But I'm also psychotic enough to think I might just be able to one day.
That $400,000 option just kind of dwarfs anything that I can imagine.
That is 4 of your Durangos.
That is, and it's one of my properties. I can't imagine the SF90. That guy's car was worth as much as some of the houses that were around us at nearby Alex. And it's he's literally driving a house.
Yeah. And those are nice houses too. It's not I got this place out in Brooklyn Center.
I was about to say, if you go to Brooklyn Center, you're driving a Durango over there.
Some of those people probably live in a Durango.
Yeah,
actually a house.
Actually, Durango's comfy. I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, seriously, if my life were to go completely off the rails, I would find me a nice used Durango and just tour the country and live in it. I could pull it off.
You wouldn't even need a Durango as long as you got something with a large enough cargo area, and then you just put a mattress back there. You're golden.
Seats fold down. Game on.
So what he's saying is a big white van, and then I'm gonna get the same mustache that Sean has, and arguably I don't know if I could pull it off as well. So then I'll tour the country, and then I'll be banned within every school zone within a day. So,
hey, that's whatever you do in that van. That's up to you.
Jesus Christ, that's the cherry on top we needed. But no, I love that car. It's fantastic. I mean, the first time I cruised with you, so I had the GTR out, and it was you and I. We went to go get you some E85 over at Minicone down in downtown Shakopee. Kid comes out, one of the employees there, and he notices the GTR. He's like, "Oh, that's cool," and then looks over at the Corvette, and he flips tits. He is like, "Oh my God, I love Corvette!" He's just freaking out over the car. He's like, "What's done to him, man?" He was obviously a big Corvette enthusiast. He knew everything about that car. He was just like, "This is awesome." And you kind of get that reaction everywhere you go. Even yesterday, people were looking at that car and they're just like, "That thing is sick."
Oh yeah, we live in Minnesota. This is okay boomer territory. Everybody's got their New Balances on and their jean shorts.
Well, and that's exactly it with Corvettes. They're not very practical. Guys can get away with golf R's or Evos or STIs or even like some of those BMWs, because like they got a back seat, half of them are all-wheel drive, they're 4 doors, like it's reasonable, it's feasible, right? A Corvette, it's like a wakeboarding boat. Like you can only have one of those if you have everything else and you don't need any practicality out of it at all.
Yeah, midlife crisis car.
Yeah, it's
It
like
is
most of the guys with
midlife
Corvettes,
crisis car.
yeah, they're like in there, they're retiring, it's like seeing, that's what I love is like there's a handful of guys that are starting to realize like, hey, Corvette's actually depreciated a little bit. Like these are amazing sports cars. So once you get over the whole like boomer, it's a Corvette, so then you just got to make it look unique. People are always like, well, why do you have that big ass wing? Why you get the exhaust out the side? Why is this? Why not?
Yeah,
because no one else does it.
Why the exhaust out the side?
Literally, because why not?
Okay, cool.
You know what I mean? Like, so the thing with Corvettes is like most of them look the same.
Yeah, they got the quad tips coming out the center.
Yeah, so like a buddy of mine years ago, back when I was into Evos and stuff, it was a long time ago. He found this Speedway white Z06 with the exhaust out the side, and like to this day, I still think it had like a 383 stroke or these CCW wheels. And this was like 10 years ago, so this was a hot car, And I just fell in love with the exhaust out the side, and it just that high compression 7,000 RPM screamer, And I'm like, if I ever get a Vette, man. So a couple years go by, and I eventually get myself a C5 Z06 exhaust out the side right away. And then I sold it, got this one, and I was like, fuck it, exhaust out the side. It's my trademark, And then I got the C7, and everyone's like, when are you going to brap this exhaust out the side? And I'm like, okay, it's an expensive car. It's got dual mode exhaust. It actually works. Maybe I'm grown up now or whatever, Had it for a couple years, and I loved it, man. Had, the Borla dual mode exhaust so I could cruise into a neighborhood and not bring the property value down, Wake everybody up on a Sunday morning. And then now I'm back into this car, and I'm like, no mufflers, it's only got loud and louder, and I fucking love it now, It's like we were cruising around at Caffeine and Octane, and everyone's like, oh yeah, we heard you rolling in, and a couple people were like, yeah, man, as soon as you rolled in, dude, everyone is just, no matter where you were, necks were breaking, and like that's what I love about that car, because it's just in your face,
When you were trying to like back up, everybody just was surrounding you because they're like, this thing sounds insane. Just trying to back up.
Yep.
You gathered a viewing.
Yeah, and like that's what I love about it. Like it's just so in your face. You're fired up at a gas station, you're sitting at a stoplight. Like you won't go somewhere without someone coming up and like, yeah, this thing's sweet, And I love that about it, because then you get people that are like yeah, when we were at Caffeine and Octane yesterday, some dude was like peeking in the window. He's like, oh man, I'd love to sit in this guy's seats. I was like, go for it. It's unlocked, Because you go to some car shows, and you'll see the like, please don't touch, whatever. And I'm like, that's a car, man. Like that dude at the Ferrari, dude, he had his cruising with his dog sitting on the passenger seat. Like there's two kinds of Corvette owners, There's guys like me that are like, yeah, I'm going to beat the crap out of this thing every time I get. Like if you want to sit in it, I'll stand on the wing, like to show people how strong it is. Like that's the kind of Corvette owner I want to be. And those are the kind of car people I want to be.
Okay, I have to stop you right there. You standing on that wing is not a testament to how strong that wing is. You get my big fat ass up there, that will be the real that'll be the real challenge.
Yeah, maybe it's a testament to how much weight I've lost, I guess.
Yeah, there's that too. I was about to say, man. But no, you're right, 100%. Like there's the guys that are overly protected, and there's a reasonable amount of protection you want to have on your cars. Obviously, like you don't want to be, what's it called, letting everybody just rub up against it with their fucking keys and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like it's a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the worst thing that I imagine when I pop my hood to kind of show off the engine bay is somebody going in with their hand and just unplugging something. They could so easily do that, and if I just drove off, it'd throw some sensors, or maybe it just won't start up, and then I'm like, oh no, my car, like what happened? And then it's like digging around. So now if I do pop the hood, I just go like real quick over, like once over, make sure there's nothing like sticking out. But
you're giving people ideas again.
I'm not trying to give anybody any ideas. That's just me as a car owner who shows his car off. Like,
so, was it last week or 2 episodes ago? We were talking to Eric or whatever about how hard it is to start his Datsun because not hard, but like there's a sequence to start his Datsun up. So he has to flip a certain ignition switch or whatever, then actually start the car. And we're just giving it away on the podcast. Like,
I didn't give anything away. I just said there's a certain switch that you have to hit before you press start. Guess which switch? There's a few.
Just teaching people how to steal cars. Who are we going to have on next week? Let's find out. All right, guys, here's how you break into a
Lockpicking
multi-millionaire.
lawyer.
Oh, actually, no. Funny story. So yesterday we were at Ferrari, right? Like we just visited over there, and I got to meet some of the sales guys over there. And one of the guys was telling me about all the security measures that Ferrari has. You know, how hard it is to break through the glass. Like, yeah, you'll break through it, but then it's not going to shatter. You know, you have to pick at it. He's like, it'll take you 2 to 3 minutes or whatever. And I'm just like, guys, I'm thinking full-blown Ocean's 11 here right now. Like, I want to... Like, I'm like, you guys are challenging me now. It's like, oh, if you gotta get the car through there, and there's all these different things. I don't know, but so okay. So you said you used to be back into Evos. Is that what? Where did your, I guess, kind of car persona start in your life?
Yeah. So my first like cool car was an SRT4 Neon, actually, like way back in the day.
Those are sweet.
Yeah,
man.
like I wanted one for forever. You know, I'd be nerding out on car parts, watching YouTube videos, and I had it for like 6 months, and I was like, man, front wheel drive sucks. So I traded it in to a dealership in St. Cloud for a Terminator Cobra, 03 Terminator Cobra.
Okay.
Love that thing, you know,
Sweeter.
just the classic freaking blower one, V8. It was a convertible, you know, hell yeah. And I was like,
and a
okay,
convertible.
this thing's kind of cool, you know, and then ended up selling it because I wanted one lower miles, and I think I picked up an Evo, and then I was like, I don't know, man, I want a V8 again. Well, got back to the Terminator Cobra, and then, I don't know, man, I'm going to go back to the Evo, and that was kind of back when I'd have a car for 6 months, get rid of it kind of thing, you know, and it's been a long time, so that kind of joke is that running joke is kind of lost its steam, which is kind of nice, but yeah, so I kind of went back and forth between like Evos and Cobras and yada yada, and then had a run of a couple Evos, and they were just awesome, and I loved them. But then I was like, you know what, I don't really need the practicality. I mean, I don't have kids, not married yet. Like, I have a little beater car I can drive through the winter, so you know, it kind of got to that point where I'm like, you know, Corvettes are also kind of cool, you know, and that was back when like the C6 Z06 was just the pinnacle. You know, I scroll through Facebook memories and I'm like, God dang, I really wanted one of these like 7-8 years ago, you know. And finally, I was just like, you know what? Okay, I don't need, you know, any of the practicality. I can have a toy car, you know, like check them out. So I got into Corvettes, and fuck, dude, I never turned back. You know, they really are the best bang for your buck. You know, no matter what you want to do. I mean, guys started drifting them now, which I love. You know, if you want to do autocross road course like we do, it's even this summer. Like a lot of people have approached us and like, oh man, I'm starting to see the light. You know, and they're looking for cheaper C5s and stuff, and like you can just do anything. Drag cars or super good street cars, like they're just good for everything. You know? So
the LS2, LS3 is such a good platform to start at.
Yeah, so like that's just kind of how I got into it, because all of the stuff that we like to do. I mean, we do autocross, we do road course, we mess around with the drag racing once in a while. I love street driving my car. I love driving at places, like to have, you know, take it to car shows, whatever. Like it's just kind of good for everything, for like a fun summer toy, you know. And then I got my little GTI, that's kind of actually how Harris and I connected a little bit. I'm like standing in the dealership. I'm like, I don't really know much about these, and he's like answering my calls and like adding me to group chats and stuff, and these guys are just super helpful, and like that's what I love about the car community. You know,
I was so worthless though when you asked me like, oh, how well does the manual hold power? And I'm like, oh, it's probably fine. Nope.
Yeah, well, and that's the funny thing too, because I'm kind of the same way. Like people just kind of presume that like, oh, you guys are super into cars, you got a pretty decked out car, like you guys show up to all these events, you guys always win, and people just think that I know how to like fix shit. No, man, I barely even know which way a torque wrench goes, you know. Like this year alone is when I finally can like start swapping my own wheels at like racing events and stuff. Like it used to be like, man, I don't even like change my own oil. Like I'm like the least mechanically inclined person ever.
Oh yeah,
so it's kind of funny
like that too.
Yeah, and I mean I kind of still am, to be honest. Like when you say like, oh, I'm so worthless, but I know who to tell you to. You know, I can point you in the right direction. Like that's kind of my like the networking of it. You know, I might not know how to do it, but I'll tell you someone who can. You know,
I think that's super valuable to have in the car community too. Like for example, we've been trying to diagnose this freaking rattle in my GTI for like weeks now, and Sean thought I was losing my shit. By the way, he's like, I don't hear anything, and now it's been getting worse and worse. And I'm just like, you know what? When I take my car to Ratified, I'm just gonna have them be like, hey, you want to take a look? Like, I'll pay you obviously, you know, to diagnose it, because I can't figure this shit out. Because like basically what happened is, what was it? I want to say 3 weeks ago when we went to Summer Nights at Chanhassen. I was ripping it and I hit like a pothole really hard, and Sean says that I got some serious lift. He couldn't confirm whether or not I got airborne, but I'm pretty sure I have been, because I've done it 4 times before. So when I landed, I was facing a different direction. Like it was like 6 degrees left, you know, like I'm just like, all right, that was a quiet drive the rest of the way to the show. And then on the way home, I started hearing a little rattle. So I'm like, yeah, this might be one to have a shop look at this, because I looked everywhere, nothing obvious, but I've been learning so much over the years. Like, 5 years ago, I was helping Sean change the wheels on his Jeep. And mind you, back then, I was not in shape at all. I had no core strength whatsoever. So I'm like about to fall over taking the wheels off his, Jeep. And those weren't light-ass wheels either. They were not light-ass wheels. So, like, my back gave out for like 2 days or whatever. Like, it's just ridiculous. So since then, I can do a lot more on my own. Again, like the oil changes and all that fun stuff. But there's some things I just don't want to fuck with right now. Now that I have a little more free time, that's great, but a lot less money. But
yeah.
That's the problem, man. It's like when you have the time, you don't have the money. When you have the money, you don't have the time.
Yep.
So, but at some point, if Monoxide ever takes off, man, we're going to do some wild shit on this channel. But, yeah, there's something to be said about learning along the way.
We can start by getting like a $500 car and then turning it into a convertible.
Oh, my God. Did you see what that fucking lunatic did? Okay, first of all, do you know who we're talking about? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about this. So Brian, Caddy Daddy, who we had on the podcast, and I want to say episode 6, he got, the Bonneville or whatever, chopped off the top, just ridiculous, like with a Sawzall or something. Already ridiculous. Doing all these crazy videos. I mean, the suspension's giving out, and it's just going whop, 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 like while driving. Sketchy car. The other day, he posts on his Facebook and I think his Instagram. He's like, hey guys, we're going to be at this location the next 2 days. For $5, you could take a swing with a bat. For $10, you could take a swing with a hammer.
Oh, no, I did see that. It's like a Bonneville or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I did see that, yeah.
Dude, did you see the result photos of this?
Yeah, he like had it on a flatbed. The thing was...
it was
dude.
flattened. It was like
it looked like that one
5 inches shorter.
that like mini game in Street Fighter where you just have to destroy the car,
Oh yeah.
it looked like that. Like Rio just Hadoken the shit out of that fucker for like 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
what a great business model though, because he said one swing for $5.
Yeah.
And
that's a lot.
That thing looks like it got quite a bit more than 100 swings. I think he paid like $500 for that car.
Oh yeah.
This is a great business model. I think he should do this regularly.
Wreck-It rooms are.
Oh yeah, Smash Rooms or whatever. Yeah,
great business. They charge you so much money for like whatever. It's like 45 minutes, and it's like $50 or something, and you're just breaking like
broken shit.
Yeah, broken shit basically already. So
could you imagine like you just peruse around like a swap shop and just find stupid shit that people don't want to throw away? Because like you're not supposed to throw away like a refrigerator or a microwave in the trash, you know, stuff like that. So like,
but you can take out so much frustration on something like that.
Yeah, no, I've done one before and it is fun. Like, or you go and you buy like 100 plates for like $10 or something at some garage sale. You know, like you could spend an afternoon in a garage sale and just make a killing. You know.
I think we should open one of those rooms, but it's ridiculous. Like people always put like free shit on the street too. Like you could just, be like free couch or whatever.
That's what
like,
I'm saying.
But the thing is, for those sort of things, I would not last. I don't got the cardio for that. 45 minutes? Are you fucking kidding me? That's a workout, dude.
That's That's why like you just get in good shape and stuff like that's enjoyable. You know, there you go. That's your motivation to get in good shape, not to win that contest, but just to go into a Smash room and be able to last the whole time.
Well, I mean, like you're not swinging for 45 minutes. You're like, they got to set up stuff. They'll like, you get a choice of, I'm sure, like weapons, like
you get like wrenches and shit.
To 20-pound hammers.
Yeah, the one that I did one in Sioux Falls, and I think you got half an hour, and they had like you picked like 30 items or something like that, or 40 items or something like that, and it was cool. I mean, like you're not just swinging a hammer for 40 minutes straight, but no, it's fun, and they play like death metal in the background, and you're like all suited up too, right? Like it's not like you're in a
feel like the Doom guy.
Yeah, you're in like a hazmat suit kind of thing, and like you got a face mask shield on. Like it's pretty. It's pretty intense.
Gnarly,
it was fun. 10 out of 10 recommend.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I think we should do this with cars. We should team up with Brian, just keep getting the cars like more and more expensive each time. Like for $20, you could take a swing at an R35 GTR.
Right,
oh my gosh.
Dude, I would, especially if you like toured around the country, right? Like if you bring it to like shows, like large shows, right? Think about it. Like if we were to go to like let's say Grid Life, and we had like a Huracan there. Take a swing at a Huracan. We'll buy 6 of them after this. You know how many people would do that? Actually, I don't know how many people would, because there is a certain cutoff, right? Like a GTR you could probably get away with, but once you start talking about like supercars that are like ridiculous, like, Huracans or whatever, that's when people start being like, oh, I don't know if I want to do that to that car. Like there's a direct correlation.
I mean, like if it's a salvage car, like a flooded car or something, and it's like there's no chance of this thing ever going back on the road.
Yeah, then maybe.
I just remembered. You remember during like I know I have to do these aggressive things because I'm coming in aggressively. during the pandemic. I think it was the Russian dude, and then there was like a crypto guy. But it was like this crypto artist guy or whatever. Basically, he blew up a Huracan with TNT and then sold the little pieces and then also did like a connected piece of art. So he sold like jars of a Huracan and then art. Like, these are the things that we should be doing if we want to be rich and famous, Sean. Come on. Okay, listen.
I didn't even hear about this. How much was for a piece?
Oh, fuck if I know. It was ridiculous though. But it was like, it also was associated with like, not crypto, was it? The other thing, like the
NFT?
digital NFTs. There we go. That's what it was. Basically, what I'm saying here, guys, is Derek and Sean have donated their vehicles for this cause. And in 2 weeks, we will be at Cars and K's, and we're going to be smashing bitches up.
No, the GTI, we volunteered the GTI.
Yeah. You know what'd be fucked up? Somebody would hit it with a hammer and the rattle goes away.
And then hit it again and it comes back. So you have to have like an odd or even number of hits.
Yeah.
I don't think you
like-
understand. Sean probably even heard it. Do you have any idea how loud I've been listening to my music to not hear the rattles in my car?
Oh, I heard you with the music blasting. I'm like, God.
Well, that's why you have the Fender audio, man.
I
That's
don't
why-
have Fender audio. My
Oh,
brother
you
does, but I
freaking
don't.
peasant.
I know. But I'm also twice as fast as both of you, so suck a dick.
Mine gets 35 miles a gallon, sucker.
I get 32. Like, I just get there faster. Somebody in the group chat posted, it might have been you, that got like 35 mpg or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Well,
is-
those guys at the DSG, supposedly they get even better mileage. So I'm doing it with a manual. So,
Oh, yours is manual.
hell yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. It'll be worth something someday when I sell it because they're probably hard to find, Got the push button start, the Fender audio, and all that stuff. That's all I cared about, It's got a moonroof. I didn't even care about that.
Yeah, I
Heated leather.
I
oh,
could
cut
care
it
less
off.
about sunroofs and moonroofs personally. Listen, I had a Jeep Gladiator. I took off the roof like 3 times, and that's it. Like I got sunburned. Cool, whatever. Like I'm not about the life. Like I know some people are. I respect it. The thing that I miss about my Jeep was I could go anywhere. I could hit a curb and just laugh.
Oops.
Dude, I was talking about this with one of my neighbors I saw at the car show yesterday, and they asked me like, "Did you ever go over that roundabout on that one street?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I did." Like I just went straight over. Like, and I was telling the story about how I've bottomed out every single car I've had, including the Jeep Cherokee and the Gladiator. I was telling him I hit a speed bump at 40, and mind you, I already knew the speed bump was here, but I forgot about it when I did a U-turn. So I hit it at like 40 or 50 miles an hour on a Jeep Cherokee. Like, so needless to say, I know a thing or two about wrecking stuff. So again, we will be having the Z06 and the 1M.
God, we went from GTI to there.
Yeah,
This is
what
tough,
the
man.
heck? Or how much are we charging for a swing?
Okay, realistically, if you were to do this, what would you charge per swing? If this is like a large event that you
Oh,
could
man.
definitely get a lot of people.
Like mathematically, if I was guaranteed to get, if the swings were like pre-committed, and I had like
Pre-order
a
your swings
buy-in,
now.
where I was like, no matter what, I'm getting it.
But it doesn't have to be a single day event, because like Brian did 2 days. So if you were to throw it on a flatbed and go to multiple events, I mean, for a while, like
I don't know, because if you show up with an already beaten and broken down car,
It's
it's
probably
like,
not as fun. It's
not
like
as
going to the
fun.
smash room and smashing the stuff that's already smashed.
Yeah,
like
that's
you gotta
like-
be.
Damaged goods.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be tough. I'd have to run the math on that one.
Okay. Yeah, if it's a large event, I'd have to get the value of my car
Plus some.
and plus like another 10 to 20 grand. So
oh, what do you,
I'd have to probably charge somewhere close to like probably like $200-$300
for real.
I wonder if somebody, like, let's say Scrap Life Garage or whatever, like, you could auction the car off so somebody else could, like, fix it up. Or, like, would insurance total it? No, insurance would tell you, fuck you.
Dude, State Farm's probably listening to your podcast right now. Like, you're on a friggin' watch list or
you're on
something.
a list.
Guaranteed.
That GTI shows up with a bunch of hammer, like it got vandalized, they're gonna write you off.
Like that poor lady that went into the intersection of a takeover or whatever. Did you ever see that video?
Oh yeah, dude,
Dude.
that's nuts, man.
Dude,
The takeover
basically-
is
Scary.
Yeah, like this lady was just cruising, just trying to get fucking home or something. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I think what was it, like a 370Z? No, it was a convertible something. I don't know. But all these animals just went in there, started jumping in a car, destroying it or whatever. Just basically like, I wouldn't say totaled it, but
Well, I'm glad that she was safe because I was like, she got out of the car. I was like, oh no, that was the worst thing that you could have
Yeah.
just done right now. But it seemed like they left her alone, so that was fine.
yeah, I posted something on my Instagram yesterday about something about takeovers being like the stupidest thing or whatever. And I said, if you support takeovers or whatever, you're the biggest clown ever. Go ahead and block me like you do the intersections. Like, I don't care. Like, your opinion is wrong and your existence is wrong. Like, takeovers
how
make me
did
so
that
mad.
go? Did you get any interaction on that?
No, not this time around. Like, every once in a while I get an interaction. Like, man, we're just car enthusiasts having fun. No, you're
No,
a
you're
fucking
not.
idiot.
You're plagues.
Yeah, plagues, like legit. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking like it's time to poison the water supply. But anyways, I really do wonder. I think by the time we get to episode 100, there's gonna be a compilation of. It's gonna be like a video version of Mein Kampf. I swear to God. Like it's gonna be like people are gonna cut together the worst things I've said on the show by episode 100. And be like, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, like the put that on the soundboard. The Harris said something really bad soundboard.
We should have Harris bingo. Somebody's gonna make it one of these days. It's ridiculous. But to your point earlier, back to car life and not plotting destruction of the world. It's ridiculous. Like there's loud cars, but your car is like the right type of loud, to where people will turn around and be like, okay, that sounded good. Like. But whereas, like, if you hear, like, you know, just a ratty piece of shit Civic, and don't get me wrong, I love Civics, but, like, a ratty, just garbage one, nobody's gonna, like...
Oh, yeah. It's a different... You know, because, like... Yeah, we're in Minnesota, and, like, a lot of the car scene is very, like, import-focused, but you get a big thumping V8, V10, something Viper. You know, like, if it's a big chop in American muscle car, like, that's pretty universally respected, you know? And I think that's, like you said, like, some of those, like, BMWs that are straight pipe, turbos hanging out the hood, and, you know, those straight pipe Civics or whatever. It's a different, you know, they're, like you said, they're loud, but they're not the same kind of loud.
They're loud for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, granted, there are some people that'll tell you my car is obnoxiously loud for no reason.
Oh, it
'cause
is. Listen,
realistically,
yeah.
there is no reason that my car needs to be that loud other than the fact of why the fuck not, you know?
Which is a part of it, but at the same time, like, it sounds like a race car, it sounds like a NASCAR. It doesn't sound like... Listen, when you live near water, there's something called mosquitoes, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is also accompanied by Civics. So it's like, it's just annoying for no reason. And to be fair, yours is sometimes, too, to the right person. But it's, like you said, it's universally respected in the car community, a big thumping V8.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, what would you do next? Would you ever, are you going to keep this car forever, or what are you thinking?
I don't know, man. Like, I always feel like this chassis, the C6 chassis, just kind of has my heart, but, like... So, I don't know. Some guy, we were at Proving Grounds, and he, like, sought me out because we always used to camp next to him. Him and his buddy are Corvette guys, you know, and he saw us, like, unloading the car off trailer, and he was, like, talking to my buddies, and I was, like, walking back up to our campsite, and he was, I guess, like, asking, like, if I'd ever sell it kind of thing, and they kind of pointed over, oh, it's his, he's right there, and he kind of, what do you want for it? And I just spit some off the cuff number. Like, I don't want to sell this car. It's like the first event of the season. I want to enjoy it, you know? I was like, $70,000, you know, just give him some bullshit number. Cause if he took it, like, holy shit, you know, but I never heard back from him or whatever. But so it's like, part of me is like, yeah, if some guy came up and gave me just some asinine offer and bought it, like maybe, but I don't know, like what's the next thing? Like those Vipers, man, those have always had my heart, but
Which generation would you do?
If I'm going to do it, dude, I want to do it Gen 5, you know, get like a nice TA just because, like you said, a Gen 5 ACR is realistically, like, they're just going up and up and up, you know?
I'm right there with you.
There was a point in time where you could buy one of those for like 160, 70 grand. I think even brand new, they were like, what, 150, 60, somewhere in there?
You can get them off the fucking lot. Some of them were going for 80.
Yeah, so like there was a point in time where it's like, oh, fuck, my biggest mistake in life was being in 9th grade when the housing market crashed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it sucks, you know? Now that, like, I make good money and could feasibly spend like 140 grand on a car, if I was like, fuck it, and I don't want to, you know, I could do it. Now, they're not 140 grand anymore, you know? So it sucks.
The market is so upside down right now to what it used to be, and it's, I mean, if we could see COVID coming, we would have bought up all the ACRs. We would have special ordered one of ones, like
exactly,
like they were going out of style.
Yeah,
you can, in theory, get something called the cheeseburger for about 100 and what's it?
Was 150.
Yeah.
150K. The fake ACR.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember the story behind that. That thing's awesome. But no, I think a Viper would just be cool because it's like the next iteration of a Corvette, right? Just big old American displacement, raw, visceral, in your face, just fuck you kind of shit, you know? Like, that's what I like about the Viper, you know?
Yeah, it's the pinnacle of Dodges.
It is. It's like,
fuck you because we can.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my dream, you know, something like that. Just because it's kind of like the next, like, evolution of a Corvette, you know? It's like a lot of Miata guys will go from like a Miata to a Corvette because it's just like a big Miata with horsepower, right? It's like the next step, you know, and that's kind of like the next step. Like, what do you do after a Corvette when you still want something that's fun and fast and loud and obnoxious and versatile and looks amazing and sort of still halfway comfortable on the streets? You know, there's not much that fits that build. It's not a gajillion dollars, you know? So
it is interesting when you put it that way, because like it depends, right? Like, do you keep a car stock or relatively stock and, you know, low power? In my head, low power, anything below 1,000, right? You know, like reasonable, you could drive it, but the Corvette kind of maxes out at like, you know, at I think 1,500 for a reasonable platform, maybe 2,000. But then you start talking about, you know, ceilings of like, you know, Vipers, which is, you know, the fucking moon right now. But then what if you don't want that? Like, that's particularly in a drag racing category. What about if you're doing road course and autocross? You want less than 800 horsepower.
Oh, yeah,
typically.
way less. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like, the best, like, what would you say the sweet spot is? 500 to 700?
Honestly, like, that's kind of like where my car at is perfect. I mean, the car weighs 3,100 and some change with gas in it, and it's got good aero, and it makes 620 horsepower. Like, it traps 127 miles in the quarter, which is pretty quick.
Right.
So like it's fast enough, you know, and that's like the pinnacle of like usable horsepower. And that's why I like the Corvettes, is because like you get a 600 horsepower Subaru, it's realistically not going to be usable like on autocross or road course, and it's not super reliable either. No offense to you Subaru guys, you know.
Subarus are on that dangerous line of 600 horsepower and 0 horsepower.
Right, like
You know?
yeah, exactly. Whereas like a Corvette, I mean, that my car came from the factory with 500 horse. It came from the factory with a 325 wide rear tire. So like when you start with something that like already had horsepower, already had really tall gearing. I mean, my car can hit 60 miles an hour in first gear. You know, I go through the quarter mile, I run through the traps, and I'm barely into fourth gear. You know, so like that, like that's what makes it reliable, is because, you know, I didn't add triple the horsepower from factory. You know, and like when you're saying like how much horsepower do you need for road course, I mean, some guys will tell you, you know, they'll road course with 700-800 horse, but you don't need it. None of the guys that are fast or make, you know, my car probably made more horsepower than just about every other car at the Triple Track Showdown, and there was a plethora of people that were faster than me.
It comes down to like skill.
Oh, 100% confidence. You know, I mean, my car making 620 horse, like my roommate Simon was like a little over half a second faster than me on the comp course with like 400 horse, just because of driver skill and confidence, and he's carrying more speed. You know, granted, I get to the speed faster, but if he's carrying more, it ends up to be about the same. You know.
It is ridiculous. Like, I've had people watch some of my lines from when I did that autocross, and they were like, yeah, it's solid. Obviously, you know, room for improvement always. But it's like, oh, man, it is crazy. Like, when you start thinking about improving. Like, even when I did from, like, lap 1 to lap 6, you know, that first event I did, it's like, man, there's so much to learn about there. So I'm excited to do another event. Too bad the last one kind of got rained out. And realistically, like, it just wasn't going to work out that day. Like, I can go up there. I can drive. You know, I got PS4s, but we have Cup 2s on the GTR.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, let's not chance it. There's more events.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. And like you just can never control the weather. Like we actually ended up getting lucky and getting some dry sessions,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like the forecast for the day just looked super not promising. So I mean, it is what it is.
Especially
you know?
when it's further away. Like, if it's 20,
Yeah.
30 minutes away, I'll make the
Yeah,
risk. But when it's like an
100%.
hour and 10 for us, you know, it's
Yep.
like, you know, especially like for like, you know, my pops would have to take the day off work. So it's like,
Yep.
you know, for me, I don't care. It's a weekend. I'll go waste an hour, you
Exactly.
know. But,
Yeah.
well, not as much nowadays. Like, it's kind of nice, man. I'm enjoying just shooting a lot. Like, I had almost my entire last week booked out, which is freaking awesome. Like, just, you know, every day you're either working or you're not. Like, it's so interesting, this life. I might commit to this monoxide thing. We'll see what happens, but that's an off the podcast discussion. But oh man, I had a freaking question, but I lost it. Oh, your fit life. I
Yeah.
really wanted to talk about this on the podcast because we
Yeah.
have had a number of people on the podcast that care about fitness, and some people may sign off right now. Don't you dare, because I'm gonna have excellent questions later too. But nonetheless, tell us a little bit about that, because we had Chaz and Jess on in the past.
Yeah.
Alec was on. You know, he had a great transformation. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, same thing, man. I kind of just didn't really care about health and fitness until I got a little bit older, and it just kind of hit me in the face. And I'm like, man, I'm 30. I'm now recently single. I'm kind of sort of an overweight loser, you know? Like, I was 280 pounds at my heaviest, you know? And I was like, you know what, something's got to change. And not even about being health, you know, like, oh, I just want to look good, I want to be skinny, because obviously that is a big part of it. But like someday, like when I have wife and kids, like I want to be able to like run up and down the basketball court and the soccer field with them and stuff. Like, I don't want to be one of those parents that's, you know, late 30s, early 40s and can barely stand up and play with their kids and stuff, you know? So I'm like, I just hit it hard, you know? Like day one, I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to start meal prepping and take my diet seriously. And I just never looked back. I just started doing it and just learning every day. It's like anything else, right? Like you just have to learn and borderline be obsessed with it, you know? And it just started working and I got really into it. And from like my heaviest to like my leanest last summer, I lost 120 pounds. Like I started at 280 and people like, I'm 5'11". So like, that's a big boy, you know? And, last summer, kind of midsummer, I was like about the leanest. I just wanted to see how far I could take it. And I got down to like 159.6 just to see, you know, and that was not really sustainable. And I was kind of miserable and I like carbs a lot more now, you know, but that's a whole person, you know? And it's kind of crazy because like you'll talk about how like a lot of the people in our circle have like intermingling passions, right? Like we're all car guys, we're all successful with, you know, health and fitness is always a big passion, and everyone is talking about like businesses and rental properties, and it's like the circles of people always intertwine, you know? And when I realized that first, like life was always like, oh, I haven't seen these people all winter or whatever, and you get the, oh man, new car, like, a sick car, or I love those wheels, you know? And that's kind of like your greeting of how you see people, right? Mm-hmm. And then we'd come to those same events, and instead of like, dude, I love your car, I love what you did to this, that, whatever, it's always, holy crap, I wouldn't even recognize you, you know? And that's the first time is when it clicked, you know? I had people, like we were just hanging out with Carissa, and I love when she tells the story, because like we were at an event last summer or the summer before, and I was like walking kind of up towards like their campsite or whatever. And I walk a little bit differently. I know now I kind of have my chest up and working on my posture. And it's like, I'm proud of how I look, you know? And she kind of looks over and I'm a few hundred feet away and walking in the other direction as I'm turning around towards them. And she kind of mumbles to her husband, Dash. And she's like, man, that guy's like a ripped version of Derek. And I like turned over and get a little closer. And they're like, holy, that is, you know? Like I've heard people like I'll walk into the gas station. They won't even see it. They'll see my car. And then I'll walk out from like going to the bathroom or whatever and be like, oh, dude, no way. I've had people, some dude came up to me like when I first got the C6 back this summer. He goes, I used to see this car, because my car is pretty unforgettable, right? The side exhaust or whatever. And he comes up, he goes, did you buy this from like a bigger Asian guy a year or two ago? And I'm like, and one of my friends turns around, he's like, that's him, you know? And it's just so funny, you know, because like that kind of, it's like it hits a whole different, it hits different, you know? Like when people
it's like you're two different people.
Yeah, I mean, it literally lost a whole nother person, you know? And like the cool thing about that is it's so like akin to racing, right? It's like you go and you race and you have an awesome car and you do well at the track and people will gravitate towards that and be like, how can I do good like that? What, you know, they'll ask you for advice, and people will message me even today, like, dude, what coilovers do you run? I saw your car at Boost, you know, like what tires do you run? You were slaying it, you know, how do you, can I ride with you? Can you ride with me? And it's like this, that translates over to the health and fitness world, because they're like, how did you do it? I get people that message me and be like, can I get diet advice? How do you stay dedicated? How do you do this? And I love that. You know, at first it was always the car stuff. You know, you love showing up to a car show and people want to ride with you or whatever. And now like it translates to the health and fitness stuff. Yeah. You'll see people and be like, wow, you look so great or whatever. How did you do it? And I love inspiring people and like getting people to like see what they're capable of. You know, like you get to a crossing point in your life where you realize that your success is not contingent on someone else not doing as good as you, right? So if you can look around and be like, you know what, if you become healthier, that's great. That doesn't take away from me.
Can you repeat that? Actually, I didn't get that last little bit. Like contingent on somebody else.
So like if you come up to me at the track and you're like, how do I get fast like you? That doesn't make me slower. It doesn't take away from me. Okay, yeah. You know what I mean? Like my buddy Simon, he's like, honestly, I want to go to this big shootout because I want to get our ass kicked. And I was like, nah, man, I like winning. I like going everywhere and winning. But then in the back of my head, like later that day, kind of stuck in. And it's like, you get to a point in life where you realize that winning doesn't teach you as much as failing does, right? And just in general, like any kind of training that you do or wanting to better yourself, you learn more by failing or not succeeding, right? And even at the gym, you have to train your muscles to failure, to grow, right? So like if someone comes up to you and they whoop your ass, you're going to learn a lot more about how to be faster at track or what you need to do or how to be better or how to watch them and be like, oh, that's how he did it. I need to do that. You know, like you're going to learn a lot more from the guy that beats you, you know, and that kind of translates into everything. You know, you see some guy that's got 10 rental properties, you go up and ask him, he's not going to, the successful ones, they're not going to be like, nope, my secret, you know. they're gonna all these guys on these podcasts who do it for free. They'll give you, here's how to invest, here's how to work the tax systems in your favor legally, here's how to get into real estate and rental properties. Like, they're sharing knowledge. Like Elon Musk, like with the Tesla thing, like that's one thing that a lot of people actually like about him is he's so like into the concept of EVs. Like, his information's not proprietary, right? He wants the world to grow because he understands that if I do good and I make you do good, that makes everybody do good. What's good for the bee is good for the hive. So once you reach that threshold of realizing that like making other people better doesn't do anything to hinge on your success, like why not uplift everybody, And like the health and fitness is the same thing. Like, I love reaching out to people and like bouncing off ideas and being like, hey, like I never really used to believe in like keto, but tell me what you know about like a keto diet, or how come you train like this? And it kind of translates into everything, And that's what I love about the health and fitness thing is there's so many. It's like cars, right? You tell people you're into cars. You could be a drifter, you could be a drag racer, you could be an autocross guy, you could be into rallies, you could be a car show guy. Health and fitness, do you like, are you a marathon runner? Do you like to power lift? Are you a power lifter or like a bodybuilder, or do you do CrossFit? Like whatever. No offense to you guys, but you know what I mean? Like, there's so many different ways that you can do all that stuff.
It was so motivational and incredible. He had me at the edge of my seat, and then he just shits on CrossFit.
Boom.
No, and it's something I've been. Okay, my brain's all over the place right now. That's what I've been telling people for years. It's like you got to find one way to talk to people about their passions. Like, I started this whole photography thing just to meet people, just to take photos of cool cars. And same thing, we talked about this with Alec when he was on this podcast as well. He started detailing to get around people, meet people in the car community. And there's knowledge to be had. That's why I started this podcast. It's not necessarily to make it, oh, look, it's all about monoxide, but to get people on here. If you can talk 80% of this podcast and some people 99%, which we have noticed in the past, which was incredible. That's some PTSD right there. But I want to be the dumbest here. I want to learn. And I think some of the people that listen to this as well, like, whether it's, for the sake of entertainment and people who are just funny as hell, have great stories, or to learn something. Like when we had Dave Rasmussen on here, that dude is insanely smart. I think everybody should listen to that episode so you can feel like a dummy and it will humble you. But for the most part, I think there's a few really smart people that listen to this too when it comes to cars. But my point being, it's like there's just passions intermingle. And just talking to people, like I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, whether it's fitness, cars, or everything. Because I think a lot of people in the car community have multiple passions too.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just loading up for Sean, but no, me and Sean have been doing 75 hard right now. For example, he actually for example, Sean was only working out 3 days a week because that's just what's fitting his schedule. And, full body workouts, just ramping it up, whatever. Me, I've always been on the 5 to 6 side of the spectrum. Not necessarily always hard, workouts, but for the most part, getting out there, some days are better than others. But I decided to, once I got let go, I'm like, all right, let's do 75 hard. Like, I got time, and that was never my issue before. I always made time for 75 hard. That's the purpose of it. I got up to 56 days and 45 days. Both times I quit one of the times I quit for a ridiculous reason. The other time is because I hurt myself. But my point being, it's like, you make the time. And right now, I think we're on day 11, I believe we are,
Day
Sean.
11.
Yeah, like Sean's more committed than ever. He went from working out, 3 days a week to twice a day, 7 days a week. And we're both reading, books to better ourselves. We're eating kick-ass diets. We're not drinking nothing. Like, and that's one of the reasons I love 75 hard. We've talked about it on this podcast, but I'm just full sending it. I want to actually complete it this time because, like, I'm in this stage in my life where I'm just trying to be the absolute best version of myself. Not just for myself, but for other people too. Like, I'm sure, like, what you do, and same thing with Sean, it's like, it's not all about me. Like, you're trying to help the people around you because, rising water lifts all boats, or what is that? What's the quote? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm sniffing where you're stepping in. I get it, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know, that's just the thing that I love about this. So, just having the people on here on the podcast that are just mentally oriented and just bettering themselves.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, because I looked into that 75 hard because someone tagged on Instagram and I was like, what is this? I was like, that's fascinating. I couldn't do it because, one, I fucking love Kyoto. So the whole no cheat meal thing, like, I saw that and I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Well, define cheat meal, though, right? Because at the end of the day, like, you can eat clean wherever you go. You can go to McDonald's and take the buns off the patties.
Right,
because if you're traveling, that's your only option.
100%, yeah.
So it's like, for example, when I'm on 75 hard, no fries for me.
Yeah.
Because that's 500 calories of literally empty calories. Yeah, garbage. That's the biggest. And first of all, anything that's fried, just massive inflammatories. Like, it's for a while actually I stopped eating fried chicken and fries for like just a few weeks, and I was like, that was the only thing I changed. I'm like, holy shit, my body feels like it's reset.
Yeah, and I kind of preach that to a lot of people too, and so the reason like I would maybe try the 75 hard, but like for me, I guess I've been doing the whole health and fitness thing for so long that like I don't think for me it would necessarily be something that I need to do because I'm already dedicated. I mean, I already eat right all the time. I mean, yesterday when we went to that show and you guys all grabbed brunch, I'm like, no, I brought chicken and rice and broccoli and I'm gonna go work out. So like I think the point of the 75 hard thing is to teach people that you can do it, because if you can do something for 2.5 months, you can make it a lifestyle, right? Because people will ask me like, oh, you can't eat that, you're on a diet or whatever, and I'm like, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. To me, like a diet or what, it implies a finish line, and there is no finish line.
Yes.
To me, like this is a lifestyle choice, and that's what it has to be. And I think that's, to me, how I interpret the purpose of that 75 hard, because it shows people to change their mentality to be like, you know what, if I can do this for this long and see what it can do for me, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, And you're talking about how the small little changes. And that's one thing too that I get really passionate about and love when people ask, is it's like, there are so many like substitutes to foods. Like it's crazy because like, if you think it probably exists. Like it's kind of like if you think there's a porn for it, it probably exists. It's like the same thing for sugar-free foods. Like I had to bring people's attention back just in case we lost some people, But like if you're like, I really love chocolate chips, but golly, they're it exists. Like there's these Lily chips that are like half the calories of chocolate chips. Throw that in your yogurt. So like there's healthy alternatives like Neuchâtel cheese instead of cream cheese. If you like bagels and cream cheese every morning, get chocolate hummus instead of peanut butter. Like if you want like a fat-free cheese is half the calories and twice the protein, there's healthy alternatives to so many things. Because, I used to say like, no, I can't eat that. And I always tell people, like, don't tell yourself that you can't eat something, because that's when you're going to not eat it for 2 weeks and then you're going to eat a gallon of it, right? So you got to find ways to get that same, like, craving. Like, are you craving something sweet and crunchy or salty or whatever it is? Exactly. Yeah. Like one of my coworkers at my new job, she was like, yeah, man, I drink this big old coffee and I dump a scoop of vanilla ice cream in it every day. And I'm like, so how about instead of that, like you make your own coffee and you do like the artificial stevia sweeteners, find one that you like. There's a million different options. You really want a scoop of ice cream? Do vanilla Halo Top instead of a scoop of ice cream. If you have to do it, because you can kill a whole pint of Halo Top and it's like 320 calories if you're just getting the plain vanilla one. Yeah. That stuff is literally amazing, And like you said, like if you're going to McDonald's, it's a mentality, right? Because you can't be like, oh, I can't have McDonald's. You can be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'll go to McDonald's or Chipotle and I just won't get 5 pounds of rice and I'll peel the buns off.
Salad is insanely good. I had that a few weeks ago. It's really good, like the chicken salad. I was genuinely surprised at how good it was, filling and all that stuff. But like, yeah, that's the thing. It's a mentality thing. But that's the other thing about 75 hard too. It's not a workout program. Like
no, it's not.
Not at all.
It's a mentality program.
Yeah, because like I like to do it, like once a year, or at least try to do a lot of it. But again, I'm committed to actually finishing it this time. But I use it as a mental reset because, you have to make time for certain things, right?
100%.
Like our biggest excuse in this society, and Andy talks about this on his podcast all the time, is, oh, I'm busy. No, you're not busy.
We have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Listen, if somebody has 6 kids, for whatever fucking reason, but like, there's some things that are unavoidable. Some people genuinely have less time and always will.
Yeah.
There's some things that are just non-negotiable for certain people, but
priorities are in different places. Yeah. 100%.
Correct. But there is also something to be said about priorities, where it's like, all right, I need to make time to go read this book or, whatever. Because like right now, like, we're both reading books. Sean's reading one about taxes because he's trying to be a criminal. And I'm over here, I'm reading The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene because I'm trying to, again, make myself a better person, so I can actually talk to people and understand all these things, like just bettering yourself. So that's why I love that program, because it teaches you to be more time efficient, because we spend so much of our time doing bullshit things like TikTok and just scrolling.
The doom scrolling,
Yeah, doom scrolling. But like when you were like, all right, I have to get my 45-minute workout in, and I have to go shower and get my other one in, and then I have to go do my reading. I'm doing my reading at midnight every night because I have spent my entire day being productive, so I can set aside an hour or 45 minutes at night rereading the same word 65 times so I understand it.
Yeah.
And you have to make time for certain things, and I think that's just how life is.
No, and it 100% is because, like I said, I mean, everyone has the same 24 hours. And granted, yeah, I mean, me being a single guy with no kids, nothing. I mean, yeah, I could spend all the time in the world I want as a gym. Like, you're currently unemployed, yada yada. But the guy that's got 4 or 5 kids, obviously his time is going to be prioritized.
Some of those guys
places.
do it too. That's the other thing.
But you can still do it. You can get some resistance bands and some kettlebells and a dumbbell rack and work out at home. Like it's doable. It's just a matter
glad
of
you brought that up.
of what you want to do. And the thing that's ironic is like it's all about balance, right? You have to dedicate where do you put all your passions and stuff, or your motivate or your non-negotiables or whatever, right? Because we do have the same amount of hours in a day, and the funny thing about balance is like on one end of it is like, okay, yeah, you want a good work-life balance or balance with your relationship or whatever, but then on the other end of it, like I can't remember who was saying it. It was like, I think it was David Goggins, and he said something about how the irony of balance is that if you, depending on what it is and how good you want to be, right? Like if you just want to be the strongest, most leanest motherfucker on stage, or if you want to be the fastest guy in grid at the track or whatever, you want to be the best. Balance goes out the window at that point, right? Because you can't be balanced because it has to consume you. You have to be obsessed, right? People that are doing bodybuilding shows, they're not into it at 80%. They're into it 110%. That guy that's beating everyone at the track, he's not, I race once in a while. No, they're at every racing event, right? And he said something to the effect of when people question your motives and your process, like that's when you've made it, and the process thing, if you don't appreciate and enjoy the process, you're not going to enjoy the destination, right? Like, yeah, I want to look good, but like I enjoy going to the gym. Yeah, I want to win at the track, but I enjoy driving. And that same balance of like, if you go to 3 racing events a summer, are you going to win? Probably not. But as soon as people ask you how and why, it's kind of funny because like they'll ask you, like, how did you lose 120 pounds? How did you win everywhere you go at the track? Like, how you FTD on street tires? Like, how did you do this? Like, how are you making that kind of money with a 2-year college degree? They'll ask you how. And then, they'll ask a little more and they'll tell you the process. And then they'll ask you why. Why do you spend 2 hours at the gym every day? Why do you go to the gym every day? Why do you bring meal prep instead of going to lunch with the guys? Why do you spend 14 hours in 2 days studying for a heart failure test? Why do you do all this? Why do you got 3 sets of wheels and tires? And then when they ask the why, it brings them back to the answer for the first question, right? Like, how did you lose 120 pounds? Well, you answered it. Because I spend 2 hours in the gym every day. Because I meal prep all the time. How did you do this at the track and the position? I mean, there's faster guys than me, whatever, but it's like, how do you do that? Well, you answered it already because I go to racing events every day that I can, and I learn and I want to be better than the guys. You have to learn. You got to lose once in a while, and it's kind of funny because like you got to have a balance, but like if you want to be really good, that balance does kind of go out the window and you got to be obsessed and truly committed to it, and that's why you kind of only can have a couple different passions. And that's what I love about like a lot of your podcasts is it's like, yeah, they're car guys and they're in health and fitness and they're into like some form of like entrepreneurial business growth kind of thing. Like it's like that cliche thing where it's like you hang out with 3 millionaires, you're going to be the 4th. You hang out with 3 geniuses, you're going to be the 4th. You hang out with 3 homeless guys, you're going to be the 4th. It's who you surround yourself with. You guys should
stop hanging around with me then.
Yeah, well, I'm hanging out with him. We're in his place right now, dude. I'm hanging out with 2 of him and 2 of his buddies, and then we'll be good. But then to go back to like that 75 hard thing, it's when you said like it's not a workout thing because it's not like the way I interpret like the process, right? It's a mindset thing. And I think I was watching like an Andrew Tate podcast because I was just scrolling some of his stuff, and he said something to the effect of like, when you wake up and you don't want to go to work, you go to work. When you get off work and you don't want to go to the gym, you go to the gym, right? It's kind of like relationships. Like every relationship is great when it's good. It's about if you can stick through it when it's bad and you don't want to do it. That's what makes it great, right? And that's what makes you successful in any other venture in life is if you do it when you don't want to or when you don't think you have the energy or you don't think you can do it, you got to just do it, I would rather have just a shitty workout than not go at all.
When it's
right?
easy, you'll do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not when it's hard. Like for example, like again, with 75 hard, it's kind of reminding me. It's like doesn't matter how fucking tired I am at 12:30 at night.
Yeah.
I have to read this book. I need to get this done. Or Tony Yost also, like for example, he told me a quote last year. It's just kind of been sticking with me. He's like, why do something tomorrow? If you're able to do it today, do it fucking today.
Yeah.
Because something else is going to come up tomorrow. And
always
then
got an
it's a whole
excuse.
nother thing. I mean, it's just, again, this is turning into a bit of a motivational podcast, but these are you and a lot of the other people we've had on this podcast. That's why I care to associate with. And that's why I hope a lot of the people that do listen to this, and I've gotten comments from other people as well, that they are trying to better themselves, trying to be that fifth person that's, well knowledgeable and rich and whatever, whatever. And to your point, by the way, I know Andrew Tate, is a pariah to many people, but he does say some smart things.
He does say some smart shit.
One of the most important quotes that I've heard from him was this. He's talking to his brother, and I'm gonna butcher this, but he's talking to his brother, and they see a Ferrari. They're working full-time jobs, making, whatever, £5 an hour or whatever it was, $5 an hour or whatever. And they're like, how? What do you mean how? How does he have that? Because if you and I were to have no expenses and combine all of our money for our entire lifetime, we could never afford that car. So how? Because he obviously fucking did it. That means it's possible. And that quote's always stuck with me. I've been saying this to people all the time. Just tell me it's possible, I'll do it. When I was trying to get a job, a few months ago, whatever, when I was looking to switch industries, every interview I'd ask them, is it possible to make 6 figures here in the first year? Because I'm not going to sit around for like a fucking idiot here for a year. Like, listen, some people are happy with the base salary, 60, 70K. Great. That's all for you. I know people, and they lead very happy lives doing that. Not everybody's meant to be entrepreneurial, but a salesperson or whatever. And some of these guys looked at me funny. They're like, what do you mean? The first, over a few years, you could probably be doing that. And I'm like, all right, but is it possible? They're like, nah, not really. What about 80? Not really. 70. So you're telling me I'll be risking switching industries here to make the same. So it's like, all you need to do is tell me it's possible, and I will go for it. But should we wrap up with our usual 3 questions? Do you have some steam in you, man? I mean,
yeah.
Because I know, Sean, you have to get your wife over to the airport at some point.
Yeah, I do. But I just wanted to say what you were talking about, I shouldn't do this. That is actually one of the big things that I got from our podcast with Alec. He called it the little bitch voice. And whenever he heard that, he did a 180 and would go do it. And it would just be so much easier. And ever since he said that, since that podcast, every time I hear that voice in my head, I do a 180 and I just go do it. Like, if I'm thinking about it and it's like, oh, but I'd rather just relax. Like, no, don't relax. Go do it. You can relax while you're doing, like, if it's like just something like doing chores or working out, like, you get so much more pleasure from working out than just sitting on the couch. And, like, the endorphins you get from doing things, it's actually way more positive than just sitting around waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, and that's what I always tell people too, is like, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna have more energy. Like, at first you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so tired, I can't work out, but then you're gonna go do it and you'll realize that you're gonna sleep better, you're gonna be more energized through the day. Like, it's more about being almost like mentally healthy. Like, it's my therapy for me. That's where I go and I decompress. It's my time to just do me. And that's what I love about the gym too, is it's made me more mentally strong. Like, the things that I've been able to do and accomplish, like, almost piggyback off of, like, finding something that you can just dedicate yourself to. Like, that translates the rest of your life. Like, if you're, like you said, like, if you tell me I can do it, I'm gonna do it. If you tell me it's possible, like, you want what they want, you got to do what they do. It's, if someone else did it, it's possible, and you just got to do it. Because at the end, like you said, at the end of the day, like, would you rather regret trying and failing or not doing? You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get there if you did it or not. Like, you're gonna be happy at least that you tried. And if you fail, you're probably gonna try it again until you do it, no matter whatever it is, right? Like, if you're just like, I want to bench 225, you're gonna fail a lot until you do it.
Yeah, I feel.
But then once you do it, you're gonna be like, holy shit, now what? I did that. Think what else I can do. Like, mathematically speaking, less than 1% of the world's population can bench 225. Like, when you do it, like, you know how much of a, like, success trip that's like climbing Everest, right? Like, you're never gonna look back and be like, oh man, I'm so glad I just sat on the couch and eat Cheetos today. No, you're gonna walk around and be like, dude, I fucking punched 225 off the chest today. Like, everybody that's, like, has what you want or that you kind of emulate, like, if you want to walk their path, whatever they have that you don't have that you want to shoot for someday, you go and ask them how they did it or whatever, they're never going to tell you it wasn't worth it,
That's kind of, I'm glad you brought up the weightlifting records, because, like, for a while, like, I felt odd, because I was, like, really skyrocketing before I hurt myself, and I still am in other aspects of my physical journey, I suppose. But it was pretty awesome to be able to do RDLs, 6 by 225.
Yeah.
Before I hurt myself because I didn't warm up and I was an idiot trying to do it on a cut and all that dumb stuff. But it was awesome because I did it for a while, and I have video proof that I did it for a while, and it's just like, all right, like you can't take that away from me because I know I did it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I love the crossovers of everything that we do in this community, and I'm excited to see who else we'll have on here next. But it's super awesome to have you on, and I think
all right, so we got
put a ribbon on.
Got a question. So you've listened to the podcast?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
honestly, I've actually never really listened to podcasts until Harris was like, "Yeah, dude, we'd love to have you on sometime." So I'm like, you know what? I'm cruising back home, throw out a road trip, couple of hour drive home, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna throw this podcast on, see what it's
Awesome.
like,
So maybe you already know what's coming, but we're gonna ask you. You can pick 3 cars. One's gonna be your daily, one's gonna be your track car, and one's gonna be your show car. You have an unlimited budget. And the only thing limiting you is your imagination. So
We're talking modifications,
you can
everything.
anything. So what are the
get
3? Daily,
wild with
track car, and show car?
Yes.
Let's see. Daily's probably got to be practical, so I'd probably get like a TRX or some gangster like Raptor or something, maybe, or some cool Porsche that I can't afford that can still tow a shit ton.
Unlimited money though, bud.
I don't even know what they are though. So whatever, like the coolest like Porsche SUV or some like.
Oh, like a GT
something
Turbo?
like that, yeah.
Let's stick with the TRX.
Track car, I would probably definitely go for like, that's a tough one. I'd probably say either like a Gen 5 ACR Viper or some fancy I'd have to be Gen 5 ACR Viper. Show car, it would have to be something that just sounds insane, like turbo noises and burnouts until the end of time,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, man. I have a soft spot for those Ferrari F40s, like those old school ones with like the Liberty Walk kit, like a white one of those with like some twin turbo, like 4-liter V8. Probably be that, yeah.
That's an amazing show car.
Yeah.
That'll stop any event that you go to.
because like show cars got to just be like unique and cool, right?
Yeah. That was when I answered this question, it was right after Texas 2K. And it was, or was it during Texas 2K?
It was during Texas 2K. When Charles asked us.
And it was like the night or the day after we went to that night show, and they did rev battle, like an exhaust battle, and it was a clusterfuck of an operation. But the competing car was an RX-7, and everybody was just surrounding it because they knew like this rotary engine was gonna absolutely melt everyone's faces off with how good the brop pop pop
and
pop
spin to the moon.
It was gonna be just the most insane thing. I was like, that's the perfect show car. Like you say like, oh, this guy's about to 2-step his way to victory.
Hell yeah.
Everybody's gonna surround it, and you're gonna get a lot of looks.
Yeah.
But yeah, F40 with twin turbos also gonna get a lot of looks.
Yeah, like I feel like a show car it's got to look the part, right? Like it's got to sound insane. Like just even that's what I like about my car is like it rolls and like I don't even have to be. I'm idling in, and it's still drawing attention. That's what I love about the thing,
It is definitely, that car is doing everything that it was built to do.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Well, perfect. Let's put a ribbon on this. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Derek, thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, dude, it's fun.
For those of you that have been listening for some time, please go to the website, the monoxide.com website, and subscribe to the newsletter. I'm doing the first newsletter starting here. Well, actually, no, I'm dropping this podcast 2 weeks from now, so it's going to be the second newsletter. But nonetheless, make sure you're signing up for the newsletter for all things monoxide. See who our guests are. See all the fun stuff, all monoxide related. And I was thinking about adding a section, Sean. What are your thoughts on this? Like the things that we're like reading or things that we learned this week. I thought about adding that to our newsletter because it's kind of cool, right? Like everybody's like, oh, look at all this. I kind of want to actually share value. You know what? Don't answer that question. I'm doing it anyway. But yeah, so make sure you're following that. Make sure you're following the YouTube, all that fun stuff. Derek, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook and I have a Snapchat. I guess I'm kind of old school. I have an Instagram now that I just recently it got like hacked last winter. or something. So I finally was able to restart it. So my license plate, Icarus Z06, ICARU5_Z06. I don't even know how the previous owner of my car actually like stumbled across that video, and I shared it today. I'm like, that's awesome. Some dude is recording us pulling into Caffeine and Octane.
Oh,
That's
wow.
pretty cool, that's a question I get a lot too. Like, that's the funny thing. He goes, "This car is awesome, man, but I don't get the plate." So I get a lot of people that ask, "Oh, what's the plate mean?" and stuff like that. That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
What does it mean?
The guy who flew too close to the
Yeah.
sun and
So
his wings melted.
This will be like my last. I know you want to wrap it up. The good old Minnesota goodbye of the podcast.
No, you're
But,
fine.
yeah. So like the last couple of plates I've had kind of like a mythological tie to them, because the thing that always fascinates me with like mythological legends or deities of any culture really is they always are used to explain either a phenomenon that man did not understand at the time, or to teach their younger generations lessons. Because people fear gods, right? So if a god will teach you a lesson, you're going to fear it. And because we're on a podcast and I can be long-winded without my idiot buddy Cody being like, so in the legend of Icarus, him and his father, Daedalus, the master craftsman, are imprisoned on an island. And some philosophy nerds probably going to get at me for butchering some of the story, because, legends are passed down over hundreds of generations, so I'm probably missing some of the details. But basically, Daedalus, the master craftsman, fashioned a set of wings for Icarus so that they could fly and escape their imprisonment on the island. But he warned Icarus, that the way they say, don't fly too close to the sun because it'll melt your wings, because the wings were made of feathers and wax. So he told Icarus, like, don't fly too close to the sun. The sun will melt your wings, fly to your death and hit to the ground. So what that will teach you is you can't go too close to your limitations too fast, right? It teaches you to steer away from instant gratification and stay the course and be dedicated and see the finish line and know that you can achieve it, but to know your limitations within reason. But the other end of that story is that Daedalus also said, don't fly too close to the surface because you need elevation. Why do birds fly up? Because you need to be high to fly. So the story also teaches you that flying too close to the surface, your wings will get wet and then you'll fall to the ground and die. So being too further away from what you can achieve is also detrimental. You have what you can and cannot do, and it's bad if you overshoot your limitations and you fail and you never try again. But it's also bad to never reach your potential. So the lesson, the story teaches you kind of both things. So to me, like, that's kind of what the lesson teaches you, is just that you can find a goal and stick to it and be dedicated, and that's how you're going to be successful. And the whole, don't melt your wings, Icarus, whatever kind of thing. And I was like, car's got a wing, and it made a big resounding, just because that's kind of what changed in my life, is once I realized that I can accomplish things and I have to change my mindset and my mentality to be able to fly and to succeed, And that's just kind of like how it resounds to me, is like, at some point in time, you're going to be scared to jump, right? Man is always scared to jump because he's scared to fall. But if you learn what your wings are capable of and you just trust yourself to fly, the ground beneath you will become irrelevant, right? There's only one point in an eagle's life where it fears the ground, and that's before it learns it can fly. Once the eagle knows it can fly, it's not scared of falling anymore. So that's kind of what that lesson teaches, and how it resounds to me, is like, once you realize what you're capable of, like, the sky's the limit. Like you kind of touched on it already. If you tell me I can do it, I'm going to fucking do it. And that to me is like how, you talk about how like all the circles intertwine and how you're going to be the fifth of whatever you surround yourself with. Like, if you know that you have potential to do more, like how you said, like, some people are great making $70K a year, but if you can tell me I can make $100,000 a year, I'm going to do what other people don't do to do that, and that's to me what the philosophy and the meaning behind that is to know your potential and to know where you can achieve more. And to just be dedicated and know that, like, things don't happen overnight, It took me 2 years to lose 110 pounds, 120 pounds. Like, it didn't happen overnight. There's going to be roller coasters and ups and downs. You're going to have shitty days at the gym. You're going to have shitty days at your job. You're going to have shitty days at the track, like, whatever it may be. Like, you're going to buy a rental property, the tenant's trash. It's going to suck. Like, whatever you do is going to suck. But in the end of time, like, it's going to teach you something. Like, one of the guys that works on my car's booth, he was telling me about how, like, you got to put calluses on your hands, right? Literally and metaphorically. You got to learn to go through shit. Like, last summer, I was in 3 car accidents and a gym accident that put me in the hospital. And guess who still goes to the track and drives cars and goes to the gym every day? Because I learned, like, you know what? Despite getting my ass kicked, I still ain't giving it up, And it just, once you realize that, like, you're going to have hardships and struggles, like, that's how you learn shit, Like, I saw something the other day that was like, God's got you. You know what I mean? Like if you ask God for courage, he's going to give you challenges that you have to be courageous through. If you ask God for knowledge, he's going to give you problems to solve. You know, if you ask God, like, I just want someone to love, I want you to learn how to love, he's going to give you people to love, you know, like that's how you learn lessons. Like at the gym, you grow by failing. You take your muscles to failure. Like that's how you learn, is by failing at something to a certain degree, right? You know, like that's, you got to just want it, you know?
Wow. I never knew that second part about the Icarus story. I always heard about, you know, flying too close to the sun, but not the flying too close to the ground.
Same here.
So, yeah, flying below your potential.
Exactly. Yeah.
And finding that sweet middle ground of, you know, succeeding and, like, stay
the course. Yeah.
Staying the course and, you know, reaching and continuing that without falling from grace.
Yeah.
So let's try that sign off one more time.
Hold on. Wait, why is it on your car, though?
It just, to me, like a vanity plate, it's almost kind of like a tattoo for a car, right? Like it means something. And it just kind of
like a reminder for you.
It's just like a tangible reminder, like I said, that like, you know, at one point in your life, you're going to be scared to fail.
Yeah, it's very personal to him.
You know? Yeah, and then when people come up and it's like, what's a plate mean? You know, and then you could say like, hey, learn to fly. You trust your wings and know that God's got you. You're going to fly. You know? That's all there is to it, you know?
I love how that was like the 5-second version.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because my buddy Cody, like someone actually said, like, what's the plate mean? And my fucking idiot buddy Cody, like, ha-ha'd it on Facebook because he knows that I'll get deep and philosophical into it, you know? And I was like, you know, I got to find a streamlined, like, 3-second version of this. I'm thumbing it over in my head because I'm like, this is going to come up someday.
Yeah.
And, like, that's really what it is, you know? Like, eventually you're gonna be scared to jump. Man is always scared to jump until you learn to trust your wings, fly, and then the ground beneath you becomes irrelevant. Failure becomes irrelevant when you know you can succeed.
All right, let's try that sign off one more time.
All right, so one more question.
Where can we find you, Derek?
Yeah, so I guess hit me up on Instagram. I'll actually start uploading stuff. ICARU5_Z06, Icarus Z06. Yeah. And I think I changed my Snapchat to that too. Maybe I should. I don't know. Find me. It's Facebook, whatever. They'll find me.
Well, and I'm on Instagram. You can find me at 1MNMopar. Still working on that handle. We're putting it through the think tank. We should be having a new one coming up soon.
Yeah, and as always, guys, thanks for coming on to the Monoxide Podcast. You can follow me at Monoxide if you are new to this. Otherwise, please be sure to check out the website. I'm doing a lot of work on there. The newsletter is going to be really cool. I'm really excited to drop that finally. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching, and thanks for coming on, Derek, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Peace.